Hi, listeners. We're going to do a Paul Meier show today. And one thing I want to point out is Paul and I do not agree politically. We do not totally agree on religious things. We do agree on spirituality, but we do the show anyway. And, I could edit some things out that I don't agree with, but I'm not going to do that because everybody's an adult. And, just because you listen to something doesn't mean you have to agree with it. And I guess the point and why I even do this with mental health is, you can disagree with someone that you love. I love Paul. He loves me. He's my brother. I'm his sister in spirit. And so I want to keep this as is without editing out some of the things that I don't agree with, which I don't do, because we all need a little bit of this. It's okay to disagree with people and still love them. So anyway, for those of you that don't agree with Paul, please stay listening anyway. It gets funnier at the end because then we really just lose it altogether and have a good time and just enjoy the feel good of this show. Boy, do we need things like this right now. Thanks for listening.
I'm not the house of cards that falls down easily. Oh, I'm strong enough to handle what you throw at me.
Welcome to Mental Health News Radio. I'm your host, Kristin Sunanta Walker. Just what are we going to discuss? The intimacy that is mental health. Let's continue to make it as comfortable as discussing brain health or heart health. This show has been on the air for several years and we have amazing co-hosts. And then we created a network of podcasters on mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com, a place where every possible facet of mental well-being can be talked about openly. My show? After several hundred interviews, the format is this: intimate, deep, funny, touching, sometimes uncomfortable, but always vulnerable conversations with interesting people. The goal is to have you, our listening family, many of you who have become my good friends, feel as though you are listening in on private conversations. Thank you for tuning in and becoming part of this amazing journey with me and now with our network of podcasters. Just knowing this podcast might be helping any of you realize you are not alone on this journey called being a human being makes doing this podcast worth every second.
After all, we promised we'd be cordial.
Hi, listeners. We've got a treat for you. It's Dr. Paul Meier on Mental Health News Radio. Hi, Paul.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. And, we call these Roundtable with Paul Meier. And I have to let everybody know, we do these over Zoom, but my desk now is a round table. So we're very literal here.
mine, okay, we ought to call it square desk discussions with Dr. Paul Meier, I guess.
Exactly.
That doesn't sound as good.
Exactly.
That doesn't sound as good, does it? Yeah.
Round table.
Because we want to be around the table.
Exactly.
We want fellowship with our listening family. So everybody that's listening to us right now is around the table with us.
That's right. Exactly. So I feel very good that I'm actually at a table that is about 75 years old. So it feels,
it's as old as I am.
There you go. It's as old as you are. It's beautiful, beautiful oak family dinner table that serves as my desk. But anyway, today we are going to talk about, we have 15 or 16, maybe even 20 things that are positive things that can be done or ways that we can look at things through this coronavirus of 2020. So Paul has put this together. I know you guys love those shows where we do countdowns. So we're going to go through them one at a time and comment and hopefully lift everybody's spirits that's listening.
Yeah, as a psychiatrist, Kristin, I've been seeing people every day still, very few in person, most by telemed, and which you've done a lot to promote telemed over the years, and I've been a technophobe, and I finally learned how to do it because of the pandemic, and now that I learned how, I love it, and my clients love it. And we actually feel, in some ways, more intimate talking to each other than when they sat 6 feet away at a couch on the other side of my desk. Because now we're, 12, 14, 18, about 18 inches apart. looking at each other through screens and face to face, and it's really been cool. And
Yeah.
plus, I can call in their meds, and they can just pick them up at the drugstore and stuff. So,
People are able to. It's much more convenient to do this. They don't have
yeah,
to stress about driving there and taking off of work. And a lot of people aren't working right now, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't have to miss my appointment. I can just do this from home. So I can see so many ways, and this is going to continue. I mean, thank God. I mean, it's so funny. I
yeah, I
mean,
hope so.
that
I hope the
it's
insurance companies will keep allowing it.
I think they're going to have, people are going to, there'll be another uprising if they try to not allow
Yeah,
that, because it just makes so much more sense. Just so much more
yeah,
sense.
and we've got a day program where people come 7 hours a day, 5 days a week for 3 weeks. So we're still doing that in person, but just using safe distancing and things, and so I see those clients every day in person, and to check on their medications and things, and we do group therapy and stay 6 feet apart and things. So we're doing that in person. For those who want to do it and are afraid to go, get in a group, we have groups smaller than 10. But for those who are afraid to do that, in Dallas we're doing it in person, and in Wheaton, Illinois, near Chicago, we're doing it all by telemed. So by Zoom and telemed and stuff, like you do board meetings when everybody's across the country, but they're all sitting together looking at each other in a virtual group therapy room. And it's working out pretty good. So they learned how to do that. But one thing I want to say about seeing clients every day is I really have a feel for what's going on, at least in my clients. And I've been surprised at how many are doing well.
Isn't that
It seems like
interesting? Isn't that
yeah,
interesting? I have been
yeah.
surprised about the two. Actually, I just spoke with the incredible, I'm trying to make him blush because he's going to be editing this show. The incredible, the wise, the amazing Joe Fusaro, who edits our shows. Now that should make him blush. Can't edit that out, Joe. Got to leave it in. And he said the same thing. Just, I told a friend of mine, I actually feel content. I've never known what content feels like. And now I do. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff as a reason why, but it's amazing to be very concerned. I've had two people I know very well that have passed, and man, I'm
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
grieving that hard,
I'm
and
sorry.
in it with their family on Zoom and stuff, and it's really hard. But during that, also feeling very content in my own life. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that died here in Dallas that I know or any of my clients know. But I got a friend that lives out of state whose father died, who was 88 and not in good health.
Yeah.
And, that was still sad to lose him.
Yep.
But so I've been surprised. Most of my clients, when I say, how are you doing? How's your anxiety level? And they say, well, I'm a little bit uptight about it, but actually, we've grown closer as a family, and we had a chance to do this and that, and the other thing, and even my pastor, when they first shut down the churches, and all that, social, you can't have anybody more than 10. That was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I texted my pastor because we got a church where the average attendance is about 2,000 people on a Sunday. And I texted him. I knew he'd feel really bad, but he's on TV too, So I texted him and said, it's Jack Graham, and I said, Jack, don't feel bad about the church services, because instead of having a congregation of 2,000 a week, you'll probably end up with 1 million. And he said he saved that, and it encouraged him. And sure enough, on Easter Sunday, he had 1 million viewers. And
Wow.
so he's got 1 million people. He's got a congregation of 1 million right now. So he's probably going to feel bad when the churches actually meeting in buildings again.
Yeah, if they
No,
do.
he'll still have a lot of people listening, but
I mean, some people will keep that up. I've seen people, we saw this, we were driving, now I live way out in the country, which is lovely, but we were driving the other day just to get out, and we drove by, we didn't, think about the fact that it was a Sunday, and There was a service going on where everybody was in their cars.
Yeah, and that's great. There was one place in Mississippi, actually, of all places, where there's a lot of religious people there, and but some real legalistic mayor of a small town, he made the police arrest everybody that was in their cars listening on their radios to their pastor, who they could see speaking, and they were all apart from each other in their cars, and that was really stupid. But yeah, that's one way to do it. And then in the early church, most churches didn't have buildings; they met in houses and things, But anyway, that's another point. But anyway, most of them are doing pretty good, and haven't needed any extra anxiety medicine or anything. But some have been more worried. Surprisingly, I thought my obsessive compulsive disorder clients would really be climbing the walls, and most of them were doing pretty good too. And they said, "Dr. Meier, I told you so." Now all my family's washing their hands 25 times a day, like I am. So sometimes
they don't feel like the odd person out anymore, do they? They're like, "Yeah, see what I live with every day."
I told you there are too many germs. But then some are going through a lot of pain. We've got some that got real depressed, and it's mostly about other things going on with this as an additional. I don't know if anybody's gotten real depressed over the coronavirus pandemic itself, but I think it contributed to some people getting more depressed, and then some people get real depressed because they're spending. Some people are really happy because they're spending more time with their family and getting closer.
Exactly.
And some people are more depressed because being with a narcissistic mate is more depressing. So let me just run down this list, because we'll get to those things, okay? So I've got a list of things you can do, positive things that you can do to grow from this. And I'll start by saying that most people that I talk to who are 60 or over in life at any time in my career, if I ask them, what's the time in your life when you experienced the most personal, emotional, and spiritual growth, you really grew and you got things more in perspective and all that sort of thing, it's almost always during the worst crisis in their life. So for most people, the coronavirus won't be the worst crisis they go through, but it is a crisis. And especially if you lost a loved one, a grandparent or somebody, or sometimes even younger people die. Almost none under 30. I mean, you can count them on one hand, I think. But still, people get sick, and then some people die of all different ages. Basically, the average age of death in the United States of coronavirus is 80. So it's mostly the older people. But anyway, the time of our lives that are crises like this one, we can use that to grow, and that's what our topic is today: is how to grow. So one thing, number one, is work on having more positive thinking. For one thing,
absolutely,
because there's so much negative stuff. You don't listen to too much news.
Yeah, yeah.
I do recommend listening every day to the update, from the president and the CDC and all them, because those are really positive. Because every day they're telling, okay, we're, now we've gone, like lately, we're over the hump now, and the number of deaths in the United States is going down day by day, and occasional. This is looking positive, and now we've got more ventilators than we need, and we're sending some to other countries, and we're doing these tests. Pretty soon you'll all be able to drive through and get one that takes 5 minutes to find out if you're positive or not, and here's the progress being made, and to see a Republican president and Democratic governors working together and being friends and complimenting each other and working together is real encouraging too, I think. But so
and if you can't stand our president, don't watch. Because some people can't watch something else.
Or watch and realize everybody's got some personality flaws, including me and you and everybody else. So,
Right.
Overlook that and look at the positive stuff, because, even Cuomo said that he's done an excellent job, supplying everything in New York and stuff. So, there's a lot of positive things for all those, whether for almost all of those, Republicans, Democrats that are involved, uniting to get stuff done. And I think that's a cool thing to see, some unity in the country. They voted unanimously to help the small businesses again. The Senate did, and I'm sure the Congress will too in the next year or two. So
Good.
Anyway, so don't watch a lot of the negative news, but watch the update. My wife and I get real encouraged watching that update every day. And don't watch it on a network television show, because then you'll hear a lot of negative stuff before or after. Just go to the whitehouse.gov and just see it directly without anybody commenting on it. See it directly, because or else a lot of it will get cut out and stuff. And but anyway, that's one thing that's been real encouraging, is actually watching that. I'll be on a conference call later on this afternoon with the Surgeon General, Jerome Adams. Mm-hmm. I was on one last week with him, and getting updates, and I'm going to be on one today with the Attorney General too. I don't know what that's about, but it's nice. I get to be in I'm cleared to be in on some conference calls with a few hundred other people.
Yep.
And get updates directly from Dr. Fauci and the rest.
Exactly.
On the latest things. Okay, so for the positive thinking, we've mentioned many times before, to write a letter to yourself, a couple sentence letter to yourself right now, or as soon as we get done here. Dear, put your name down, put today's date down. I promise to be your best friend, and I'm going to make an effort not to say anything negative to you that I wouldn't tell my best friend under the same circumstances. So if you start being self-critical or putting yourself down, don't then stop and say, oh, well, would I tell my best friend that? Would I say, oh, you idiot, to my best friend? No. Or if you start thinking, oh, we're all going to die, if your best friend was over there right now, would you say, you're going to die? There's no chance to live. You're going to die. No, you wouldn't say that, Jim. Plus, it's not true anyway.
I think too, part of it is you got to allow yourself to feel panicked at times. I mean, I had a moment yesterday where I really freaked out because I did the whole rabbit hole down the news. I had gotten this rash. I've never had hives in my life. Okay. Last time I had some kind of skin disorder was when I was an infant, and I had what my mom called cradle crap. I know it's called cradle cap, but she called it cradle crap. And so I had literally hives covering my entire body. And it was actually from eating an egg that was whatever, something was wrong with it. But I started to, look on Google, oh my gosh, rash, or do people with coronavirus get rash? And then there's these weird articles from Tunisia and somewhere else telling me that, yes, that's a thing. And you have to get the beginning. And so now I'm going to get sicker. And I didn't shame myself for it. I allowed myself to go down the rabbit hole. And then it's like, it was actually kind of therapeutic to just channel all this fear that I am carrying around into a couple hours, and then go, whew, okay, done with that. It's not on the CDC website. It's not on the World Health Organization's website about a rash. So let it go.
And even if it was coronavirus, even if you found out you were positive, the odds that you would live are it's greater than 99% now. The death rate now is below 1%. They've gotten better at treating it and dealing with it, and all those things that it turns out that like Southern Cal did a study this past week, and they think that like 400,000 people in LA County have already had it. They just didn't know they had it. And so a lot of people get it and don't have any symptoms, but they can give it to other people. So that's why it's good to wear a face mask for now, so a face mask doesn't keep you from getting it, but it keeps you from spreading it. Exactly. And you may think, well, I'm not sick. Why do I need to wear it? Well, you might be one of those that has it for 2 weeks. It doesn't stay more than 2 weeks, but you might be one of those that has it and you don't want to spread it. So anyway, so positive thinking. And so even if you tell yourself something And like you just said, I agree with you, Kristen. There have been times I've been scared too, because
Yep.
I'm 75. If I was 20, if I was 20 or 25, I would hope I'd get it, so I'd have immunity probably for life from it, But
Right.
I'd almost hope I'd get it. But at 75, and I've got borderline diabetes, and I've got sleep apnea, and I might have a 5% chance of dying if I got positive, But
Right.
I do believe in hydroxychloroquine and all that. I've read a lot of studies. I believe it. I've even got some handy, but I believe I'd be okay. But still, okay. So positive thinking. Another thing is there've been other coronavirus pandemics. Actually, they've been in the last couple of decades. They've come about every 6 or 7 years. SARS was a coronavirus pandemic. MERS, Middle Eastern, was a coronavirus pandemic, and there have been other ones, and almost all of them came from China, which scares me, and they have very strong reason to believe it started at the lab in Wuhan, which scares me a little, but
Right. If that's true, exactly what you
maybe
just
they're
said,
being they're pretty sure, but anyway. Still, now we have better ways to deal with it, even no matter whether it escapes from careless people or whatever.
Exactly.
So the odds are all the other coronavirus pandemics had one season and quit. But that doesn't mean, like I listened to Dr. Fauci yesterday and them, and we don't know, this one could come back. It could come back every year, but we know how to deal with it now.
Every year, so we have to remember
Yeah.
that we do have a flu.
Yeah.
The flu does happen every year, and until there is a vaccine, that
Right.
the possibility of that is definitely very real. So this
Oh,
needing
yeah.
to socially isolate and change the way that we live and change
Right.
the way that we interact with people, that is a new thing and honestly, with everything going on in the world, we should be more aware and doing those things
I
anyway.
think some of those habits, I don't know if I'll ever shake hands again. I probably will someday, but
I won't.
I think I know I'm gonna. I might not, because I don't think I'd offend anybody in the past.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have, they'd be offended. But I don't think anybody will be offended now. But again, most coronavirus pandemics have only been one season and quit, and we will have a vaccine for sure, but it takes about a year and a half to have one. So it could come back this fall, and like you just said, the flu varies a lot though. See, so that's why you need a different vaccine each year, depending on which type of flu is coming. The good thing scientifically so far about the coronavirus is that it hasn't been the type of it hasn't been changing at all like the flu viruses do, and so it probably, the odds that look really good that it'll remain stable, and if they do have a vaccine, it'll work, probably for life. If you have had it, there's a good chance that you're immune. We don't know how long you're immune, but there's a good chance that it'll be for life, and so it looks like it's not going to change, and so it might be, it's more likely to be one of those that's one season and gone. But if it does come back, we know how to deal with it now. There won't be a big bunch of people dying like there were this time. And again, it's sad for anybody to die, but it went from a possibility of 2.2 million down to probably about 60,000, and that's still 60,000 too many. But 70,000 will die this year just from opioid overdose, for example. Right. So it's sad, but there's other things that go on in life that are really sad that we sort of overlook, and I think it's, in a positive way, it'll help us to see those other things that are costing so many lives, even more lives than the pandemic did, that we sort of take for granted. Okay, another positive thing is connect with your family and grow more intimate. And I know my wife and I have really, we've probably had a few more arguments than usual being together as much time as we are, but we've grown more intimate. I mean, we're sharing perspective. and drawing closer, and I'm spending more time on the phone with grandkids and things,
Yep.
and we strongly encourage you, stay connected.
Absolutely.
Stay connected. So connect in person with your family, and connect. You don't have to get together with somebody in person. Now, one of my sisters lives a block away, so we've gone over there and sat around the picnic table 6 feet apart. But connect with people. You can do that by phone, by FaceTime is really good. Or I'm not on Facebook, but a lot of people do that on Facebook and texting. And my prayer partner lives in Paris, France, and him and I mostly app. I forget what you call it, but it's like app each other. But it's like a text, and so we talk to each other almost every day or every couple days.
I bet it's WhatsApp.
Yeah, WhatsApp. Yeah, we use WhatsApp. Yeah. So connect with your family. Now, another thing that's a positive thing in a way, but some of my clients, most of my clients are getting closer to their family. Some of my clients live with a narcissistic mate, and they both have in the past worked full time and not spent a whole lot of time together, and now they may be in jobs where they're laid off. Now I still work full time, but a lot of them are both spending the time at home now, and so some of those clients are absolutely miserable, and so they're learning ways to. I encourage them to listen to our codependency tapes on Mental Health News Radio,
right.
And how to avoid letting a narcissistic person get to you. We've done a lot of those on that, and you've had other people do some.
Oh yeah, we have a whole every show that is just dedicated to that topic. I created narcissisticabusehealingnetwork.com. You can actually go to that page, and it will have a feed that you can put into iTunes or whichever app you use to listen to podcasts, and it'll actually give you every single show on the network, which I think there's 8 shows that are just 100% dedicated to that topic.
Yeah. And so listen to some of our podcasts. Listen to some I've done, Kristin and I together have done, probably many. 8 or 10 of them. So.
Yeah. Anyone can go to mentalhealthnewsradio.com, and there's a search tool, the top right of the page, and you can just type in Paul Meier or type in Paul Meier codependency or whatever you want to type in, anything you want to type in, and it'll pull up every single show we've ever done on whatever topic you're looking for. Yeah.
So learn how to put your self-worth in your own pocket. Don't put it, I told a client that yesterday. I said, because she was just miserable. Oh, my husband tells me this, and then I feel really bad all day. I said, you've always told me he was narcissistic, but you're staying with him for other reasons, and because he's not all bad, and I said, but you're putting your self-worth in his pocket. You need to put your self-worth in your own pocket. And maybe avoid them as much as possible. Go watch TV in another room or read your books or things. In fact, that's another positive thing you can do is find some really good books that you've been wanting to read, and this is a good time to read them. But learn how to protect yourself. And I encouraged her to get in therapy. This is actually a great time to get in therapy because you're off work, especially those that are off work. And most of our, we see about between 500 and 1,000 clients a day in therapy or medication checks or things. And our therapists, most of them are just staying at home and doing therapy by FaceTiming, Doxy and things that are legal. And insurance pays for that the same as if you did it in person. And again, it's more intimate than you'd think because you're just, you're 18 inches from each other, looking at each other face to face, sharing things. And so you can do it by telemed right from your home. Have therapy sessions, or if you want to come in person, then you can come in person and just wear a face mask and stay 6 feet away and stuff like that. Yep. But this is a great time to get some therapy, and Absolutely. I've encouraged people to do that,
and
especially if you're worried about coronavirus or not.
Yeah, and insurance companies are so much more lax now because they have to be about allowing coverage for therapy if you have insurance. If you don't have insurance, there are many, many therapists that are seeing people at a discount. I mean, the resources are definitely out there. Just get on Google and Google it, and you can find somebody that either is giving a really good discount or or that someone that will take your insurance and your insurance will cover it because it's a telehealth visit and they have to right now, and
Yeah.
hopefully forever.
And even people that are depressed and having panic attacks and suicidal, you can get, you can either do a virtual catalyst program with us by, even staying in your home and getting all that 7 hours a day of therapy, or you can come here to Dallas and I'll see you every day and do it
Really?
in
You're
person.
doing the Catalyst program online?
Yeah, we're doing the Catalyst program online in Wheaton.
That
Yeah,
is
the whole thing.
awesome.
Yeah, only online there. We decided they would do the only online, and again, they have Wheaton College PhD interns doing the therapy, and it's just really great. And then we do it in person. So the ones that want to do it in person can drive here and stay in a hotel, or local people, in the area, they come in person every day for 7 hours. But we're careful with them, and so we're the in-person place in Dallas and Wheaton, Illinois. In the Chicago area is the virtual Catalyst program that anybody can go in. Insurance pays for it. So okay, and then so connect with yourself is another one. Connect with yourself. Try, instead of just, most people just go through life and they never take a look inside, but get to know yourself in a grace-oriented way. Expect to be human and forgive yourself and learn to love yourself. You can only love others if your own love tank is full. So connect with yourself. And again, Kristin and I have done a lot of podcasts that deal with that type of topic. So you can look at the list and do those. Connect with God. This is a great time to connect with God. There's a lot more. The people I mentioned, there's a million people every Sunday listening to my pastor, Jack Graham, and there's another pastor that I actually trained when I was a teacher at Dallas Seminary, right across town, who a million people a week listen to his. And and a lot of those are people that wouldn't crack the door of a church. And so a lot of people are getting closer to God because of the pandemic. And I think that's a good thing, and I'm not saying anyone, I'm not pushing any one religion or anything, but do connect with God. And then get your life in perspective. Again, the vast majority of us humans live in a rat race. We work, we eat, we sleep, we work, we eat, we sleep, and we just go through a rat race, and and time flies by without much meaning. And the most important thing is to love and be loved. And people tend to, even in the rat race, the people that do work hard and succeed and things like that tend to base their self-worth on sex, power, and money, and none of those work. But loving and being loved by people who know the real you does work. I mentioned, Kristin, a couple months ago, my prayer partner from Paris flew here and spent time with my wife and I, and then him and I spent about maybe 5 or 6 hours together, just the two of us, and shared every selfish thing we'd ever thought or done from birth on. And we'd already shared most of those, in our times together. But that felt wonderful. I mean, it wasn't wonderful as you're going through it, but
once you're done,
it's cleansing.
it's so cathartic. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, because now everything's out in the open with another human being who knows every secret about me and loves me anyway as a friend. Of course, it's easier since he's from France, so I knew he would sin at least as much as me. So, so it's easier with somebody that confesses back to you, rather than going to somebody that doesn't do any confessing back.
Right.
So connect with God, get your life in perspective. Let me go down the list here. I've got so many good things. Laughter. You don't spend all your day, like I said, watching negative news, where everybody's telling what's wrong with everybody and all that stuff. Watch my wife and I have spent a lot of time watching funny programs. We're even digging up some old ones, Mary Tyler Moore Show and some other old ones, and watching the whole series and stuff, and just laughing. So the Bible says, laughter does good for you, like a medicine does. So there's, if you need medication during this time, get it, because you can get medication. If somebody's having panic attacks and I see them, I can end them in the same day, where they won't have any more after that day with medication. But I don't want people just to go get, numbed up or medicated. We use the medication and encourage them to get therapy and use the medicine to keep them from suffering in the meantime, though. So do things that are fun, play games with your kids.
We've
spend time laughing.
we've actually played a lot of gin rummy, a lot of card games, not on the computer. We held actual playing cards, and it was really fun to have a winning streak. And then it's really fun to throw the cards at my friend's head that's quarantining with me when he gets on a winning streak. So.
Yeah. My wife and I do that too. We play skip bowl and
yes, you play that too. Yahtzee,
card games.
Yeah, I just learned skip-bo. I love that. So yeah, it's been fun to do those things and to sit down. I mean, the entire time I was married to my ex, who's living with me now, we're quarantining together. The entire time that we were married, we didn't sit down at a table. I mean, I grew up doing that to eat, but we didn't. We just, I don't know, with work and both of us working and me being self-employed, we just didn't do that. And now every morning we get up, we make fresh coffee, we sit down at a table together, we chat. I mean, it's been really nice in that way to get back to how things used to be. And I just interviewed Christine Louie de Cannonville, which listeners, I know you love Christine. She did an interview from Dublin, Ireland, and talked about how even Ireland is seeing a kind of going back to the way things used to be before things got so commercialized across the globe. So,
I feel guilty. I feel guilty, Kristen, admitting, I'm going to do it anyway, but I feel guilty admitting, I tell my wife this every couple of days, and I've told some of my people that I work with here that I hate that the pandemic came. I hate that people have died and we're grieving the loss of people and stuff, but I love mitigation. I mean, some people are going nuts with it, but I guess it's because I get out and go to work during the day and then I have mitigation the rest of the time. But usually my wife and I would be going out to eat 2 or 3 nights a week and getting together with friends once a week. And some of those things are good, but sitting at home every night, not going to any restaurants, eating peanut butter sandwiches and stuff, for dinner, and just because it's convenient, once in a while ordering food from a nearby pizza place or something, but staying home and not doing all the things that we usually do.
Yes.
Even staying home and watching church on TV. I hate to admit it, but I like that. I think I like it better than going to the building. But
I like it too.
my pastor's going to get really mad at me if he hears this. But anyway, I love mitigation. It taught me that you can spend a lot. You don't have to. I need. We're going to socialize again. And all that sort of thing. But I don't think we'll be as wild about it as we were before. I don't think we'll go out to eat as often. We'll still go out to eat, but I don't think we'll get a real busy evenings, like we got in the habit of getting into. And so that's one good thing. Mitigate, but not to the extreme. There's a couple places where states where there's some rigidity, and you can buy this, but you can't buy that, and
that's when we're talking about.
You can buy marijuana, but you can't buy paint.
Right, exactly. It's like, okay,
and people are rebelling.
We need to still remember that this is the United States of America. So people are not going to take too kindly to being told too much what to do, what they can and can't do. So
yeah, we had a local judge here in Dallas County that passed some real strict rules last week that were going to take effect Saturday night, but it took about one day for the commissioners to get together and have a meeting and overrule him and tell the police they can't even stop people to give them a ticket if they're, not wearing a face mask when they're out 6 feet away and walking and stuff. But we need to wear one we need to wear them in public places and stuff. But still,
I mean, where my son is
we,
in
we
Fort
won't get
Lauderdale.
arrested if we don't. We won't get
Yeah.
arrested if we don't.
Well, where my son is in Fort Lauderdale, if you are 200 feet past your doorway and you're not wearing a mask, you get a ticket, and the ticket from the county.
And that's against the law.
It's
You
just
know,
ridiculous.
that people that pass rules like that need to go to jail, I think, or get ticketed at least, because there is a constitution.
Exactly.
So now another positive thing you can do is your diet. And I'm not talking about being skinny, because we're probably all going to get a little fatter during this thing, but there's some. I'm going to give you a little bit of vitamin advice.
Yeah.
And you
To
can
help
either
us with
buy
our
these
corona.
vitamins.
Yeah, this is to help us, Paul, with our corona calories. That's what I call it.
Right. Yeah. To protect yourself from the virus. I think if you do the things I'm going to recommend right now in the next couple of minutes, and I'm saying this based on double-blind studies that have been done for 18 years or 20 years that are on WebMD. Double-blind means the doctors try it. Some people on this regimen and other people on a different regimen, but they don't know who's getting what, and the patients don't know who's getting what until it's all done, and then they see what the results are. And just for an example, if you have enough zinc every day, and your body does not store zinc, so you have to eat it every day. And zinc is required to have immunity, especially to viruses. So to have immunity to the coronavirus, you have to have zinc every day. So that may surprise some of you. So you can get it from foods like I don't like oysters, but if you had one medium-sized oyster every day, that would be as good as that would be all you'd need. You know, that'd
Really?
be 90% of what you need. Yeah,
For the
one
in
oyster
terms
a
of
day.
the zinc, in terms of the zinc, that
Yeah,
would be.
in terms of the zinc. Yep.
Heck,
That's
I'd
real
rather
high.
eat an oyster than down some zinc.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And asparagus and spinach are real high in zinc. And in most meats are like beef, chicken, lamb, turkey, and shrimp, scallops are real high in zinc. And but you know, not where you have one piece, you know, as enough for all day, but those help. Green vegetables, especially asparagus and spinach, but any green vegetable is going to be pretty high in Greek. So, another thing to do, I bought zinc tablets, and most stores are out of them because everybody in the country is buying zinc, since you know they tell about that now. But you can go
still get it on Amazon.
Zicam. Yeah, you can go to your grocery store and get Zicam cold medicine, where you suck on those lozenges. But instead of one a day, do about 2 or 3 a day, and that'll make sure you have enough zinc. The best kind of zinc is zinc sulfate capsules, about 50 milligrams. But you can't get them even on Amazon. They're gone. And I bought some from eBay a few weeks ago, and it was about $30 a bottle. And I looked on it a couple of days ago for a friend, and somebody was charging $485 for 3 bottles. You know, so it's there's a shortage of the kind that the doctors use when they're treating people with hydroxychloroquine plus Z-Pak plus zinc sulfate. They use those in combination. If they just use one without the zinc sulfate, like there was a study yesterday in a veterans hospital, but of course it wasn't very well done, but where the hydroxychloroquine didn't do very well. It didn't do as good as it didn't cause any deaths, but it didn't do as good as some other things. But they weren't using zinc sulfate with it, because without the zinc sulfate, you don't have the immunity. So anyway, zinc sulfate, any kind of zinc is good though. Any kind of zinc is good. And then we're finding out that getting more vitamin A and vitamin C helps, and vitamin D. And you can go to any grocery store and find D3 capsules, and get capsules that are like a couple thousand units a day. The maximum dose of D3 before it's too much is 20,000 a day, but you only need a couple thousand a day, and maybe even 1,000 a day. But if you get those capsules, take one every day, that would help prevent it. And people that do have enough zinc, here's the good news from the double-blind studies that you can find on. Don't believe anything you read on the internet that's not a double-blind study, because there's all sorts of baloney on the internet. But go to WebMD or go to Mayo Clinic or some of those really good clinics. And Johns Hopkins, I've gone to the Johns Hopkins website. They'll tell you the truth. And but people that have zinc every day, since you have to have it every day, have 1/3 less chance of getting coronavirus or any other virus. And if they do get it, it'll be 1/3 less severe, and it'll last 1/3 shorter. So, and they need to emphasize that more. They say it, but not a whole lot. They need to emphasize that more, because that could really help save a lot of lives if people, like I say, Dr. Fauci and them do mention it from time to time, but that ought to be, encouraged a little bit more. So pass that on to your friends on Facebook and stuff.
Absolutely.
Let's see, I think that's about all the things I had on my list. Let's see if I missed any here. My list is upside down, sideways, scribbles. Every time I thought of something, I scribbled it down on a sheet of paper, and once I ran out of lines,
usually you email
exercise.
me, and it's like a scroll that's 100 feet long.
I know one that I forgot, and I know why I forgot it. Exercise.
You and I both. What?
I hate to exercise. And but exercise releases endorphins and of course getting enough sleep. People that shortchange themselves on sleep. There have been studies just recently on that too. People that are trying to get by on not enough sleep. And there's some people like, man, I love the doctors. I'm so proud of being a doctor right now. I love those doctors that are working so many long hours during, like especially when it got really bad in New York. It's a lot better now in New York. But there are doctors that were going there, and nurses and all those other technicians and everybody else, even the people that served in the cafeterias in the hospitals and stuff. Plus the workers, really, there's workers all over the country delivering things and all that. But anyway, the doctors sacrificing their lives and taking risks, and I even heard that there were a bunch of doctors, when they were short of doctors, that are retired, that were in their 70s, that volunteered and didn't even get paid and worked in hospitals, and a couple of them even died. But they're probably still glad on the way out, they were still probably glad that they could be a help to mankind. And so I'm really proud of the doctors and nurses for, it's good that people see that, because you hear about the 5 or 10% that are jerks, and forget that 80 or 9% are doing this because they love to help people.
Exactly.
I do this because I love to help people. I go home at the end of the day telling my wife, I feel really good because I contributed to the quality of life for some people today.
And we have, it's interesting timing, but we started this first responder mental health network like end of quarter last year, and because we had so many shows that are dedicated to that are done by first responders, and these are the people that are on the front lines right now. I mean, one of them, our show, the podcast Take a Shift. I mean, Kathy is one of the hosts, and she is at the hospital working double shifts. I mean, right now, and taking the time to do shows to talk about what's going on. And she's just one of many. So I feel really good about I'm not doing what they're doing by any means. So don't think I'm putting myself in their category. I feel proud that I could take this network and create a page and a place where we could have this kind of a network that supports first responders. And I'm glad that we did it.
Awesome.
That we did it, and we created it before this pandemic happened. So it was already ready.
Oh,
it was already there.
Wow.
Just like 2 months before, I was sitting down one day.
You do stuff like that.
Yeah, it's funny. I was sitting down and I went, why don't I just put a network together? This is really cool. And so we did. And then this happened, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God that came a couple months beforehand, So You got to listen
So
to
the
those.
first responders are working long hours, and some other people are.
Yep.
There's
Grocery store
factory workers
workers.
making ventilators and stuff that are working long hours.
Exactly.
And you got to get enough sleep. So, because there has been a study I started to say that there has been a study just recently that showed that people that need 8 hours a night, they're only getting 5 or 6. When you're my age, you only need about 7 usually. But if you're getting by on an hour or two less a day than you need, you're a lot more likely to get the coronavirus. So you need 8 hours of sleep a night to get your body's resistance built up. So, not 8 for most people and 7 for older people, and you need about 18 when you're a baby. So get enough sleep because that'll help protect you too, and exercise if you want to. And chocolate's really good for you too.
I love how you're like, exercise if you
If you don't want to
And
exercise.
chocolate's really good. It actually takes a lot of effort to pick up the chocolate, unwrap it, and put it in your mouth. That's 2 calories that you burn right there.
Yeah. I don't usually buy any candy or anything, but I bought a whole bunch of Mounds bars and stuff, and I don't eat more than half
That
a
is
one
some
or
heavy
a whole one a day.
weightlifting, Paul, right there.
But
Especially if you
chocolate's
get
actually got tryptophan in it, and it actually is like an antidepressant. So chocolate actually is good for you because it helps you not to get so depressed.
if you get ones that have the almond, that's an extra half an ounce of weight to lift it to your mouth. That could burn a little bit of a calorie.
Yeah, and the nuts are good for you. So nuts and zinc, beans are good with zinc, and nuts have zinc in them too. So nuts and beans. So a Mounds candy bar is actually good for depression and. If you eat too many of them, you get fat.
Making
The
things
fatter
up
you
on
are,
the
the
fly.
worse you.
Yeah,
I'm glad we thought of something that
we tried the whole beans thing with chili yesterday, and that did not go over well, the after effects. But that's a calorie burner too. We won't go into any more detail about that.
We
We'll
had
just
chili.
let that go.
My wife makes the best chili too. She's from Mississippi, but she makes good Mississippi or Texas chili that's spicy enough to get 3rd-degree burns just about. And but I love it. And the beans are actually really good for zinc. So you can look that up. You can say, just Google what foods have a lot of zinc, or what foods have a lot of D3, what foods have a lot of A, what foods have a lot of C. And you don't need to make gourmet meals. There's foods that don't cost much that are high in those things. And so if you don't want to get out and buy vitamins, then eat real careful and make sure you have those things. And again, you can store the other vitamins, but zinc you can't. So that's the most important one to eat every day. Or get some zinc vitamins and don't worry about what you eat.
Yeah, or like me, as you're doing this, I put it on mute. Sorry, listeners. I did put it on mute, and I went and I Googled oyster delivery to your home.
Yeah.
Because if I could eat oysters every day, oh my God. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One medium. I was surprised when I read that. One medium-sized oyster provides 90% of the zinc that an adult needs.
That's all I need to know. That is all I need to know.
That's the most of anything. That's got more than any other food product.
So you're eating the ocean. I spent my whole life never having had an oyster, and just because of what they look like, I called it snot on a shell. I just couldn't do it. I was like, oh God, who could eat that? And then I went to Colorado, of all places. Okay, I went to a sort of semi-religious mental health conference there, and I went to this oyster shack in the middle of Denver, Colorado, and the guy doing, preparing the oysters said, I promise you'll fall in love. I promise you, just let me prepare it for you. So he made like a little ice sculpture thing. He put this big oyster there, and I looked at him and I was like, only because you're cute am I going to eat this. That is the only reason. I ate it and I was like, oh, I'm eating the ocean. This is the most amazing thing I've ever had. It was so delicious. Now I'm hooked.
No, I don't like oysters, but part of it's because the first time I tried one, I think I was 25 or 30 or something like that. having grown up in Michigan, they don't serve a whole lot of oysters up there. They serve a lot more in the South. And I made the mistake of biting right in half, biting one in half.
Oh, yeah.
And what happens when you bite one in half? you see what's in their intestines.
Yeah, you got to just swallow that sucker. Just
you got to eat the whole thing. Remember, it's cooked, so
swirl it around in your mouth.
Whatever's in there.
Maybe chew on it a little.
Is,
yeah.
vitamin free, but don't ever bite one in half. So
yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. I just let it slide right down. I swirl it around in my mouth. Maybe I chew a little bit, but not where it's cutting through anything, and then it goes right.
Well, yeah.
Well,
you can chew it. Oh, yeah, you can chew it. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it's all cooked, So
I think we've gone completely off the rails.
I know it's been fun though.
It is. See, this is what we're talking about.
People can listen to this podcast and laugh with us. People in our listening family, they can laugh with us, and that'll do them good. That'll release endorphins.
Yeah, we give you permission to actually laugh with us, but also laugh at us. It's okay. You can laugh at us.
Yeah.
Both. We're okay with it. And the reality is, I mean, we are. I feel like this, and I said this to Joe this morning, our editor. I said, and I was talking about it with Christine Lloyd-Cannibal, my friend Dr. Paolo Molino, a friend of mine that lives in Amsterdam. I mean, I've had calls with a friend in South Africa. I mean, we both, Paul and I, have friends that are all over the globe. And what's interesting is everybody has said this. Anyone who has suffered from any kind of mental health challenge, whether that be anxiety or bipolar disorder, whatever, we all know what we're talking about if you're listening to this show. We feel somewhat prepared for what's going on right now because we've already been through so much.
I guess that's why my patients are doing better than I thought. It seems like they're doing better than people that have never gotten any kind of psychiatric treatment. Most of them are doing, oh yeah, I'm rolling with it, doc. No, I'm fine. You don't need to change anything. I'm doing fine. In fact, we're enjoying this and enjoying that. And, my unemployment check is a little higher than my paycheck was. And, fortunately, the Republicans and Democrats are helping take care of a lot of people financially during this crisis.
And a lot of families are coming together. Like I'm gladly helping out a couple of people just because I'm doing okay right now. And then I know that if I run low, I've got family that I can go to, and nobody's laying guilt trips and, oh, you should do this, or adding strings attached to the giving. Everybody's kind of, giving as they can and living without if they need to. I mean, and I'm not saying, because trust me, there are even some podcasters on the network that are like, having to go to food banks because they are furloughed right now. So there's there's a lot going on, but it's almost like, there's nothing you can do about it. So you have to learn how to be at peace with it. And those of us who've had struggles with our mental health, we already know what that's like, and we've lived through it, and we're still here. So we kind of are, like you said, rolling with it. We're supposed to be here right now for this time to help all the people that have never
That's a good point.
done introspection, that have never examined, well, life could be different, that are so panicked. I mean, we're supposed to be here to show the way. And I feel really good about that, because I can't tell you what, I don't know anybody better than the people on this network. I'm telling, and I mean people, the guests, and I mean, I just don't. So
and you and I have both take medications for genetic stuff, and we both had therapy, and I don't mind admitting, that I've needed therapy in the past, or that I've got some genetic stuff going on where I need medications the rest of my life, and because on the medications, and now that I've had therapy, if I was any happier, I'd feel guilty, So
same here.
And so I have anxiety about the coronavirus and stuff too, but it's not bad, not too bad. When it first started, it was worse because I made the mistake of listening to the news and believing it, and the news are after ratings.
Yes.
And so if they scare people to death, oh, you're all going to die, and it's never going to go away, and and all that sort of stuff. They're
doing their job, which is sad.
Then they're a lot of them are purposely lying just to get high ratings, but they scare people to death, and And now that we know the facts, that's why it's important to listen to that update every day, because when you look at the facts, it's getting better almost in every state. It's getting better. It's on the way down. And if we look at the facts, then the other coronaviruses did go away, including SARS. And this coronavirus that we have right now is a type of SARS. It's a variant of SARS. And scientifically, when I study it, I'm positive. I feel pretty more positive about it, and it's going to end up with a death rate lower than the flu, but it spreads so easily that's what makes it potentially so dangerous for older people, and so it's still scary. And I hope it doesn't come back. But if it does, I know that it's not going to be like it was this time, because we have plenty of supplies. We know how to treat it. There's new medications coming along that look real promising, and and a lot of people, when they have had it, one of the first things they want to do is like what you just said, is look out and look for other people you can help, and they want to give blood, and then they use their antibodies to heal other people. So if you donate blood after you've had coronavirus and you're negative, then you can save a whole bunch of lives just by donating a pint of blood, because they'll use your antibodies to put in people that are dying and save their lives.
Which is phenomenal.
Okay,
All right.
We've gone over
as usual. We needed this too.
I really enjoyed this.
Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I know this is one of your favorite, if not the all-time favorite series on my podcast. So thank you, Paul, for coming on as usual. And thank you, listeners, our listening family, for tuning in to another episode of Roundtable, at an actual roundtable, me at least anyway, with Dr. Paul Meier on Mental Health News Radio. Hi, listeners. I'll make it quick. These are some really cool places that give discounts and other cool things for listeners of Mental Health News Radio Network. If you want to get amazing help with healing from narcissistic abuse, go to healfromanarcissist.com. If you want CBD products that are the best of the best, I use them myself, go to proze.com and use the code mentalhealth20, mentalhealth20. If you want to get daily perk ups that help retrain your brain to think more positively, go to perkupdaily.com. And also, just because this one's fun, snarkycandles.com. I guarantee you'll love them. Snarky with a Y, SNARKY, candles.com. And don't forget, if you want to hear all the shows on the network about first responders, you can go to firstrespondermentalhealthnetwork.com, and all of our shows that focus on narcissistic abuse, narcissistabusehealingnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
Sometimes I'm passive-aggressive, but never without good intentions. I heat up and act on my emotions.
Thanks so much for listening to Mental Health News Radio. Our podcast can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, and hundreds of other podcast apps, or you can visit our website at mentalhealthnewsradio.com. If you have a question or would like to be a guest, become a podcaster on our network, or join the amazing organizations that help keep us on the air, please email us at info@mhnrnetwork.com. Get ready for that special goodbye from our resident therapy dog, Miles, and a special thanks to Emily Sohn for letting us use her incredible song, Cordial, for our podcast music. Listen to the full song on SoundCloud at emily.sonne.
Don't be surprised when I don't hate on you. After all, we promised we'd be cordial. Sometimes in you I can fight it.
Good boy.